He was in a relationship, but broke up 2 years ago because the girl wanted to go find herself. Anyway, yeah, she wanted to find something. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
for sure. She was
yeah.
looking for
Is
something. I
herself
don't know
the
if it
new
was
name of
herself.
Chad? I don't even know what
Yeah.
He said, I know she probably meant this as a compliment. She absolutely did not mean that as a compliment. She absolutely did not
Right.
mean that as a compliment. It's really a shit test disguised as a compliment, right? So, a couple ways to kind of handle this.
Number one thing you have to understand about women, they are way more socially adept than you will ever be. It is born in them. These little social interactions, nothing is by accident. I want you to understand something. Like, as a man, you are under-equipped for this situation, and you always will be.
All right, guys. So today we have a couple questions from Reddit, and they're actually we picked them hand curated, kind of thinking about in mind what we're talking about. So the first one we're going to jump into, and I will go ahead and allow you to read this one since it is a little bit longer.
All right.
But we'll jump
All right.
into it, and you go ahead and read it.
Sure. So the title here is How to Respond When a Girl Asks Why I'm Still Single. He says he's in his late 20s and he's been single for around 2 years. He gets 2 to 3 matches per day on the apps, so he's absolutely killing it on the apps. He's getting that many matches. And I've gone on plenty of dates, but I haven't found my person yet. I recently started talking to this really cute girl I like, and she said, I'm really surprised no one snatched you up yet since you're such a catch. I know she probably meant this as a compliment, but I'm unsure how to respond to that.
Right.
I'll summarize the rest. He basically goes on to say he was in a relationship, but broke up 2 years ago. Because the girl wanted to go find herself. Anyway, yeah, she wanted to find something. Yeah, that's for sure. She was looking for
Is
something.
herself
I
the
don't know
new
if it was
name of
herself.
Chad? I don't even know what
Yeah.
my
That's
name
a
is.
weird name.
It's a French.
Herself.
It's a French Chad.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is herself. Yes,
Exactly.
quiet. She found herself.
Yeah, so, herself. Dude. Somebody named their son herself.
and
That's crazy.
I think the details don't matter for paragraph 2 and 3. I think
Yeah.
the first paragraph is enough, and I think even one sentence, maybe even one word, is enough for me. I'm going to give quickly a basic description of this. He said, I know she probably meant this as a compliment. She absolutely did not mean that as a compliment. She absolutely did not mean that as a compliment.
That's the first thing I thought.
That is not a compliment, number one. Okay.
Yeah,
The first thing that you need to understand, because you're out looking, look, this guy is like getting 2-3 matches a day. If you're getting 2-3 matches a day, you're already in the top 1% of these dating
yeah,
apps.
this guy's absolutely killing it. It's
So,
crazy.
and it makes sense that he doesn't understand this. It doesn't make sense. He's never
Yeah.
had this. I totally get that.
Yeah.
But and the concept of a shit test is something that he's never probably had to deal with, or maybe he's just subconsciously been passing them his whole life. But this is literally the woman saying, "Hey," and I'll give you English, right? She's not saying, "Oh my goodness," like you're. What did she say? I'm really surprised no one snatched you up yet since you're such a catch, right? That's her trying to find ways to say what she really wants to know. Like she didn't even put a question mark. She just made a statement. But what she's saying is, "Hey, are you dating anybody else? Are you going to be dating only me? I want you to date only me. Can we have that? Can we make that happen? Like I want you to date only me. Can we make that happen? Like why is that not happening?" That's basically what she's saying, right? And maybe there's the comma is, are there any red flags about you that make it so that you're not dating anybody? Like I don't understand why you're not dating anybody. Like you're only and so this is the problem. You're viewing that as a compliment, right? Because you think that that's something that she would say, hey, like, oh my goodness, like you're such a catch. Because she phrased it in some level as a kind of a compliment, which it's really a shit test disguised as a compliment, right? So a couple ways to kind of handle this. Number one, I think uninstall those dating apps. I don't know what you're doing on those. Get those out of the way. Like that's a Skinner's box mentality where you're relying on upvotes and for dopamine. So get that out of the way immediately. But for specifically to give it actionable advice for this situation, when somebody tells you something like that and says, "Hey, I'm really surprised no one snatched you up," ask yourself why they would be surprised about that. Okay, so think about this. Are you actually somebody who is going to think about when she says that to you? Or are you going to be somebody who says, I'm going to respond literally? I'm going to say, oh, I'm literally going to say what she said and then respond to it. No, the answer is no. You need to figure out what she means by it and read between the lines. Now, she means, why are you single? I want to date you, only me. I want to be only me that dates you. Can you make that happen? Ask yourself the answer to that. Is it yes or no, right? And answer it in a way that would be ambiguous, because you have to kind of cut through the lines and give a kind of an answer that would allow you to understand that you're reading between the lines, but answer it in a way that's also earnest. So we diverge from the red pill here because the red pill will say, "Oh, keep it mysterious and never actually commit to anything ever and don't do anything ever." Pretty much, that's their biggest mentality is don't do anything ever. Right? It's like Michael Scott, never do anything,
Yeah.
absolutely any and under any circumstances for anybody. That's what Michael Scott would say from The Office.
Yeah.
But and the red pill says that too. But what I'm going to say here is something like, "Hey, figure out this in your life. Analyze this. Say, hey, is this woman somebody I want to be kind of continuing with? Is this woman somebody who I'd see myself with 5, 10 years from now? Like, is this somebody I can see? Is it working out? And if it is, if you've honestly introspected and said, yes, it is actually so that like that, open the door. Maybe ask her back and say, hey, maybe be casual about it, but say something like, hey, I actually make a joke. Hey, no one snatched me up because I'm allergic to whatever latex. Make some stupid joke. You'll figure it out, and then go from there. And then say, but yeah, no. Speaking of that, there's a lot of cool things to kind of explore out there in the world. Hey, would you like to kind of go out and figure something out? Like maybe go on a date and do some weird thing, and just ignore the question kind of, and let your actions speak for themselves. Right? Let the fact that maybe 2-4 months down the road and you're seeing her, tell her, kind of signal to her that you are actually serious about her, right? Because that's what she wants to know. Are you serious about her, right? And if you don't even know the answer to that yourself, you got to figure that out first. So that's kind of what I would say. Kicking it over to you, I kind of gave a vague answer. Let's kind of hear what you would say.
Sure. So I just think it's funny. I just want to point out, like, we never, like, we both see the question, but we don't talk about it in advance. But it's so funny to me that, like, the first thing that you realized about it, of course, and so did I, is that this is not a real question, right? Or the question itself is veiled and camouflaged, and the statement itself is the shit test, right? Hopefully you're familiar with a shit test. Basically, this thing women do where they kind of are just testing you, just to test your, I mean, any number of things, but generally just your masculinity, how secure you are, those types of things. And this guy rightly identifies. I mean, the question made him feel bad, and his stupid reaction to it is to be charitable and say, well, she probably meant it as a compliment, but it made me insecure. Okay, you're very naive about women, and as you said, I think what's going on here is this guy's like super Chad looks wise, so he's probably extremely handsome, maybe tall. He's probably had zero problem in his entire life, like all through high school. Women are just throwing themselves at him, so he doesn't have to know anything about them because they're just going to give themselves to him, and he never has to try. So now he's in a situation where he's actually trying to take a relationship seriously, and he's so naive about women because of this. So the first thing I would tell him is that number one thing you have to understand about women, they are way more socially adept than you will ever be. It is born in them. These little social interactions, nothing is by accident. I want you to understand something. Like, as a man, you are under equipped for this situation, and you always will be. Like, you are going up against an opponent. Like, you're one man against, like, Goliath. Just this behemoth with so much power and speed and skill that you will never ever hope to defeat them. All right, like, so what I mean by that is, if you feel a certain way, if a woman made a comment and it made you feel a certain way, I guarantee you it was on purpose. There is no possible way that she made you feel insecure by accident. Like, the thing that she said was very pointed. She said, I can't believe nobody snatched you up yet. Again, Tony said perfectly, it's not a question. It's not even a question. She just said it to gauge your reaction. So it's like she just lobbed a little bomb at you, and then she's just going to watch and see what you do, right? And the number one thing that she doesn't want you to do, that she's afraid you're going to do, is get very insecure about it. Because now, Tony was saying that he sort of thinks that she's trying to figure out if he wants to take it seriously or not. I think that there's merit to that, but I really think mostly what's going on here is it's just purely a shit test. I think she's just trying to make him feel insecure,
Right.
and just gauging how he's going to respond to it.
Right.
I mean, because women are very afraid of. Well, not that, I'll say this. Women love what's called social proof as well. Okay, so a man who has a wife already is actually going to get more attention from women than a single man. All right, that's a dark thing to say. It's the truth, but that's what goes on when you've already been approved by other women. Women feel safer with you as a choice. Women feel safer to go with you, and if you've never been approved by another woman, she's going to do the opposite. She's going to assume that every other woman has some legitimate reason to disqualify you, even if they don't. All right. So again, it's not a logical question here. So don't try to think about it too much. This is just what happens. So I think that's what's going on. She senses this. She says it's weird that you're not already in a relationship, and I'm just going to lob this bomb at you, and I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. Number one is I'm going to test how secure you are in this question, and number two, I'm going to get some information out of you because I know you're like a man who in this social combat arena is like this puny little mortal, and I'm this huge, so I'm just going to toy with you a little bit and see
Right.
what you do. So now, what to do, what to respond with
Right.
here? What I'm thinking of is ignore it. I mean, it's a little maybe red pilled of me to say this, but I think there are certain comments and questions from women that can safely be ignored. This is not a real concern. All right, what she's looking for is social proof. Social proof is irrelevant. It does not matter. It has nothing to do with your character, nothing to do with who you are, whether you're going to be a good husband, nothing with you. Those are the things that truly matter. Is if how are you going to treat her? What are your true intentions? That's what matters, and you know that in your heart. You know what it is. So you can safely dodge this stupid nonsense concern. What I would do is I would make a joke. I'd be like, "Who says I'm not in a relationship already? I'm just cheating on her." So I would just like make a stupid comment, like
Yeah.
just like a joke, and then see how she reacts. Like that's what you have to do. You're giving it back to her. It's like combat. But she's gonna see it like flirting. She likes it. Right?
Yep.
She's not gonna take offense to. If she gets offended by that, then see you later. Right? She's not.
Yeah, and then
She's really just looking to argue.
right, and you're talking about agree and amplify, which I think is a very, very good strategy. Like they like to use that terminology in red pill world
Yeah.
spheres, but I think that's great and stuff. But and I think the thing about the red pill being right about certain things is they're right about this. They're right about the fact that, and we both kind of said ignore it. You said it more explicitly, which I appreciate that you worded that way better than I did. But yeah, you got to ignore this. On some level, you need to ignore this for now. And I think the reason I'm trying to kind of give a little bit of aggressive feedback is that I think you need to get off dating apps completely. And I think like the reason that you're having this kind of reaction, like this woman is shit testing you, is because she's addicted to dating apps and she's sucked into that Skinner's box world, and you're entering that world. You mentioned you were dating somebody long term for a while. I bet you met that girl at college or high school or something like that, right? And you're probably not used to like this whole weird kind of shit test world because this woman you're talking to is not normal. She's not normal. You need to return to normalcy. And if you just touch grass, you're not gonna. This is not gonna be an issue. And I know we might have a disagreement. Maybe some people would say all women are like that. But I really believe that if you're not dialed into this dating world culture or dialed into this Skinner's box of Tinder, Match, Bumble, they're owned by the same company. But if you're not dialed into that Skinner's box mentality, and a woman like just sees you and instead of saying what that woman said, she won't have the reaction immediately instinct to say, hey, I need to immediately test him and see if what he's gonna. I'm gonna try to make him feel insecure because that's a little bit demonic in my opinion. But I'm not even. I don't even.
Oh yeah.
So, but a woman that's normal and not addicted to dating apps will say something like, hey. They maybe will phrase it differently because they'll just give you a compliment. They'll just say, "Hey, I like the way you treat me. I like the way I like spending time with you." That's it. They can just leave it there.
Yeah.
But she's not trying to compliment you, as we both said. She's trying to shake the boat and see what your reaction is because in her mind, it's not even her fault. She's dealt with so many men that have probably not been able to provide her safety and security, or not willing to provide her safety and security because they're, like I said, locked into this dating app culture. So they have this whole thing of, hey, pump and dump and repeat, right? And so she's probably trying to figure out, like, okay, I need to kind of update my model of vetting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to kind of, and she's not thinking about this like logic, it's more instincts, right? She's saying, hey,
Yeah. Yeah.
let me ask this guy a question to make him feel insecure and see what he does, because I need to figure out what he would do in a situation where I really need his safety and security, right? And so if she says this to you and you are do the wrong thing, which is, oh my goodness, don't worry, like I promise there's no big red flags about me, like it's just I have this kind of crazy complex long-term thing and that's it, and don't worry about it. She's gonna immediately say, "Oh my goodness, he failed this." He's immediately and say, "I don't know what happens if we're in a car and you pull up and somebody says, "Hey, out of this car." Are you gonna be the guy that pulls out the Glock, or are you gonna just say, "Don't hurt me"? So
Don't hurt me.
It's that's kind of what she's doing, right? So I honestly think like you don't even need our advice because you're getting 2-3 matches a day. My advice is this.
Yeah.
My advice is get off of those apps. Go out, go date one of your coworkers. Right. Like literally.
Yeah.
And I'm not,
and it's clearly like very good looking, bro. He would in the real world. Why are you on the apps? I don't even understand that. What are you even doing? Like it'd be so easy for you to go up to any woman in the real world. Like
get off the dating apps. Don't respond to this like in any meaningful way. Just say something like Dean said. Do agree and amplify if you really want to. Just say, hey, and something like oh, you know what? Yeah, she said. I'm really surprised no one snatched you up yet since you're a big catch. Just say, oh, I actually have two wives and I practice kind of polytheism and stuff, and God has snatched me up. So, but hey, I am a catch and I do appreciate you saying
Yeah.
that. However, speaking of catching,
Yeah.
how about you and I go fishing? Let's go for catch some real catches, whatever. Make some bullshit joke,
Right.
and just get involved because really, like, none of that stuff matters at the end of the day. Like, it's
Doesn't
all
matter.
the details don't matter, right? So get involved with her.
Yeah.
And if you guys are like vibing, as the kids would say, then vibe out, vibe in, vibe out, whatever. But
Right.
focus on
right.
lacking.
Stay vibed out. Stay vibed out until you're married. But yes,
Right.
absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. Stay by exactly. So I was about to say, don't.
What's up, guys? Thanks for checking out this clip from the Maneuver Life podcast. If you enjoyed it, consider liking and subscribing and leaving a comment, even if it's just because you want to tell us how dumb you think we are, but especially if you want to tell us how much you agree with what we were saying. We have weekly uploads every single Monday, long-form conversations just like this one. So consider checking it out one way or the other. Thank you so much for your attention. You have a good rest of your day.